Hey Greg, how you doing? I'm good. Well, we finally connected. We've been monkeying with technology for about 15 minutes, 21 minutes actually, and finally got you and your beautiful landscape behind you. You're just showing off the sun right now. Oh, beautiful. So where are you at? Where are you actually located? And when you say heat wave that you guys are going to get, what does that look like for you? Because where we were 104, I'm in Phoenix. We were like, oh, look at that horse in the background. This is incredible. You got a little piece of parrot. I'm like, what's walking behind you, Greg? So this will be on YouTube. Where we made this work here. What happened was Greg's Wi-Fi is down. My Wi-Fi is slow. So he's got his phone doing the video on him, and his daughter's phone he took from her. So she's probably going to come screaming in here pretty soon. He's speaking on that, and we're making this work. But when you say heat wave, what are you saying? Oh, yeah, but what about the winter? Are you 15 degrees cooler than us in the winter then too? For sure. Yep. Well, I think you guys are in paradise right there. I mean, at 88 degrees, we're probably, I haven't been outside yet today because I've been working, but yesterday it was 102, 103. I think we hit maybe 104, 105, somewhere around there. It was hot for this early. It was hot. Uh, that's, yeah. So I'm from Wisconsin, Greg, grew up there 38 for 38 years, moved here 7 years ago. And nobody believes, like they're like, it's Arizona. In the evening, you wouldn't need to wear a sweatshirt. And I tell people when it gets 70 degrees and that sun goes down with this climate, you get cold. It really. Now, what is that in the background? Oh, what? Turn around your right. Oh, it's a horse. Okay, it's a horse. I just seen its head coming in. It almost looked like it was a turkey in full strut. And I'm like, what piece of paradise do you live in? How many horses do you have? And that's a passion of yours. When you're not guiding, you're roping, aren't you? Oh yeah. So well, let's talk about you a little bit. You're how do I say this without I don't mean to embarrass you. I know you're a humble guy, but you're a famous individual, in the hunting world and probably in other arenas as well. And I've heard you on many podcasts. I've had the pleasure of talking to you a lot of times. I use your outfitting business, which was the hunt of my lifetime, and probably will go down as the hunt of my lifetime. And but I think when I listen to other podcasts, people, you're always talking about hunting. You're always talking about Nevada or Arizona, good units, what's good to hunt. I think sometimes people want to know like about you. They're just fascinated with people. So I just want to kind of dig into your life a little bit, find out what makes you tick, where you're from, where you grew up, when you started hunting, those kind of things, and get a feel for who Greg Krogh is and all that stuff. So where did you grow up? Wow. Yeah. That's incredible. That is a wild story. So I'm gonna hold this over you. I'm gonna hold this over you. I'm gonna find out where your dad is and get them this, potentially get him this podcast and get some hunts out of you. Tell him, Mr. Krogh, listen what your son was doing. No, that's funny. And you were how old at that time? 20? Well, if you're ever going to do anything, why not do it when you're young and there's no responsibility? $5 in your pocket goes like forever back then, and so why not do it, right? Simple life, right? So how in the world do you graduate from NAU and you sit before me with an Arizona State Sun Devil shirt on? What's going on? Yeah. Wow. Well, if we get this COVID thing done, it's May 7th right now, 2020, because this will be played in the future long, long after this day. But May 7th, 2020, and we're still in the COVID pandemic, whatever somebody wants to call it. I don't know. I won't get all political on, well, I could. It's my podcast. I can say whatever I want on here, really. We'd be so far off of hunting if we wanted to. We'd be political for 2 hours. No, I don't think so. I think we probably think a lot alike. But we got to get college football going again. Sports got to get going again. I mean, I was talking to a good friend of mine, and he's now the commissioner of the indoor football league. He used to own his own team in Sioux Falls Storm. They won the league last year. They beat the Rattlers, and been friends with them for a long time. And he's now the commissioner of that league. And I said, so how is it going? He goes, well, we were the first real majors team to shut their whole season down, even before basketball, before NFL. And he said, if we don't start talking college football, NFL, baseball and some of these things again, and maybe this is it's too much of an idol for our country right now, but it seems to be something everybody can rally around to get, their mojo going again. When you look at so many things that have happened after 9/11, the baseball was it, and after big things in New Orleans. No, I moved here. We moved here 2013. Yeah. Yep. Well, if you listen to podcasts, go back and listen to my early podcast, The Story of Damian Miller. He's my hunting buddy. That's who I hunt with. And he was the catcher for the Diamondbacks. And so he told that story of going there and how somber feeling it was, but how people rallied around baseball. And he said on the podcast, he goes, we felt bad for the people in New York. He said, we didn't feel too bad for him because we ended up beating him in the World Series and yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Okay. That's all right. We'll just pick right back up. Oh, I'll get him to hunt with you. Hold on 1 second. I'll start recording again. Hold on. I'm recording on the YouTube, so I'm not even shutting that off. That's just the blips. Yeah, we're back now, so we won't even edit that out. We'll just piece that together. But yeah, what I was saying, Greg, was if you listen to that podcast, Damian was saying after 9/11, they went to New York because they were in the World Series, and he said we felt bad for the people in New York. We didn't feel too bad for the baseball players though, because we ended up beating them in the World Series. So it was really good. He kind of had a good joke out of it. But people rally around sports in America. I mean, so if we can get ASU back on a field and some other teams back on a field and get through this COVID thing, it'll be great for our country. Yeah. Have you seen anything? And I have a bunch of questions here for you. But have you seen anything from the guiding standpoint as far as has that affected that yet for the coming fall? Right. I just watched a great video of a virusologist, however you say that. She's a king of viruses. And she just talked about people need to be outside. There's so sunlight, vitamin D, all the good things. You know, they're shutting beaches down where you got salt water is such a great disinfectant and things in the sand and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's, you know, it's kind of goofy, but it is what it is. And hopefully it's going to be in a rearview mirror pretty soon. Yeah. So when did you, oh, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, one of my friends, and I had, you would never know this, and he didn't really know it. I don't know why he ended up taking the test. I didn't ask him, but he got it, his wife got it, and one of his sons, he has two sons, but three of the family members got it, but they were asymptomatic, no symptoms whatsoever. They got the antibody tests and they all tested positive for that. So then he actually had to, and I won't say his name because he had to really fib quite a bit in order to get in and get the full blown test, and he tested positive for it. So I asked him, what did you experience? He said the only thing I experienced was about a week of I couldn't taste or couldn't smell. And I just thought it was odd, but he goes, I didn't feel bad. He kept working the whole time, runs a great business, is everything. So that's all I know. I hadn't, you've heard of other people that have been affected by it, but you know what I understand now, I don't really know if it was really COVID-19 or if it was something other underlying health issue that they had, because it's kind of being covered up a little bit. And again, here I go. I'm going to go down that, that rabbit trail. Well, I would have swore I heard you on a podcast and you were really hacking. And then you and I started talking about a month ago about some health and fitness and other different type stuff. You and I were talking and you still had it lingering. So I always thought, like, I think we joked about it, like, Greg, I think you got the COVID, man. I don't know. Yeah. You live in that beautiful paradise right there. Horse around your immune system strong. That's right. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I was going to say, you got to tell some stories about those bears because that second bear you showed me, well, the conversation you and I were talking, you're like, we went bear hunting and got on a bear, but it had a misfortunate incident with somebody that was going after it. And then it was like a day later, I think I was coming back from scouting turkeys and you're like, well, we got one. I'm like, oh, that was quick. And then 2 days later, like, well, we got another one. I'm like, oh my, I know guys that have been hunting for years don't even see bears. In a couple of days, you guys shot. And that second one you got was ginormous. That was a big bear. Yeah, that's the first one you sent. Yeah. I've met Jeff. I've met Jeff. Yep. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I've messaged Jeff. I keep telling him I want him on the podcast to tell that story about his big strip buck, but he keeps telling me he's not good on podcasts. So you got to put the pressure on him. But I met him at an archery shop here, Arizona archery shop. We walked out one day. And he goes, "Hey, JP." I'm like, "Hi." I had no clue who he was, and he told me he worked for you and knew me because I had used you guys as an outfitting business back in 2015, and so got to know him and communicate a little bit back and forth. But yeah. You know what's you talking about bear hunting, and I have a good listening base back in the Midwest because that's where I come from as well. And I don't think people really realize what kind of a state Arizona is as far as the amount of game, the size of game. I was told, and I've never, maybe you can verify this, I don't know, but I was told that Arizona has just about, I think, like the most record book bears in the record books, like the biggest bears, because they get so old here. You got the Indian reservations you can shoot them on. I've talked to guys that have shot 22-year-old black bears here in Arizona that come off these Indian reservations. But exactly what you're talking about, these bears they live in some nasty, nasty canyons and they get old. So what did it, what was the body weight of that bear roughly? Oh yeah. Right. That, yeah, that second one you shot looked really big. I mean, it had a big head, had big feet. I mean, just everything about it looked really big. Yeah. Well, my spring is already, I've taken off whatever, like all of April because I don't want to miss coming down and I just don't want to be along. I'd love to see, I've only seen like two bears here. I'm gonna tell you a funny bear story because you talk about how small they are. So in Wisconsin, you have to put in for points just like you would anywhere else, you know, and there's a lot of bears in Wisconsin. And it's broke up into different units. And I was putting in for a unit where it's known for bigger bears. And I had somebody up there north of where I lived that was going to bait for me. It was about a 4-hour drive. Well, I put my cameras out and they kept coming back and we had this really big bear. It looked like, you know, everybody talks about the 500-pound bear. And, you know, trail cameras can be very deceiving. And so we're putting, I think we had a shovel up so we could tell how big the bear was based on, you know, the size of the length of the handle. And it had a little, like a bald patch on its right hip or right shoulder. I can't remember, but that's how we were going to identify it. So I brought my buddy who now hunts all over the world. My best friend, he's been, you know, he's a big wig in the outdoor industry, and he was filming for me for the first day. And so we sit up and I'm sitting there and all of a sudden this bear comes in and it is It's so loud. And all I've ever heard was bears come in quiet. And I'm bow hunting it. So sitting over bait, you can bait in Wisconsin. And so I got the bait down there at 12 yards and it comes in. It's just loud. It sounds like a cow coming through the woods. And I'm like, this is weird. Comes in and eats on the bait and it falls over. It's laying on its back. It's scratching its private parts. I mean, we were laughing so hard. And I kept telling my buddy, I'm like, that's a huge bear. And he's right above me in a tree stand. And he's going, nah, it's maybe 200 pounds. And he'd shot a lot of bears by now. And I'm like, no, it's huge. And he kept going, hey, shoot it. I'm filming it. If you want to shoot it, shoot it. And I'm like, no, if it's not the 500 pounder, I don't want to shoot it. And he's like, no, it's not the five. It's maybe 200 pounds. And he kept trying to point out, look at how long the hair is. Look how long and scraggly the hair is. That's a younger bear. And it had something weird with its face. So anyway, it leaves, comes back again later in the day and tempts me again. And we sat all day and it was the only bear that came in. He had to leave that night. So I go back out the next morning. I'm by myself. I got the camera equipment up and I do it 8:30. I'm sitting there. All of a sudden, this bear comes lumbering down the trail. I'm like, oh, it's the giant bear. I'm like, this is great. So it comes into the bait, and it's kind of like turkey hunting. If you can be patient enough, let him get on the bait, let him get comfortable, and really present you a good shot. Well, he takes something away, a piece of food away, and eats it, and he comes back, and he's walking back on his left side. I noticed that bald patch, and I'm like, oh, it's the big bear. My dad was up there with me, but he was back at the cabin staying. And so he comes in, he gives me, front leg goes forward. I draw back, I just squeeze it off and I hit him. I thought I hit him maybe a little bit low, but it was a hard. He ran about probably 60, 70 yards and you heard the big death moan, he moans. And so I call my buddy that was there the day before. I'm like, hey, I shot that giant bear. Like my heart's pounding. I'm going 100 miles an hour. And I called my other friend who was a former professional hunter. And I'm like, Ray, I shot that giant bear. Like, I can't wait. So, they're texting me like, give me pictures. And I'm still on my tree stand. So my dad comes and this other guy named Ed, who was doing the baiting for us, they come walking up. And I told my dad, I was talking like, hey, you should see the bear laying right. You just walked by. And he goes, yeah, I'm looking at it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, come get me. And so we were going to film me getting out of the stand. We're going to make a little video out of it. And so I'm sitting, dropping all my bow harness and my safety harness off. And my dad's standing up there and he's looking at me. It's so funny. I'll never forget it. And I said, Dad, did you see the bear? He goes, yeah. I'm like, is it a giant one? He goes, this is a normal bear. And I'm looking at him like, that's a weird response. And Ed, the guy that was baiting, goes, no, that's a great bear. It's a great bear. He's trying to be Mr. Positive. So we're filming and we're walking up and my friend, his name is John. He's vice president. At that point, he was vice president of Rage Broadheads. And so I was using a Rage. So we were going to film it and send it to the Broadhead company and blood trail all over. And we get up close to it. And I looked at the guy in the camera, like, turn the camera off. He turns it off. I'm like, I shot a baby. Like it was laying there and it was like as big as my phone. And when I walked up on it, I'm like, where did my bear go? I'm like, that can't be the right bear. So to your point, they are the hardest animal in the world to judge. I thought I shot something the size of a truck and I got up on it and it was like a little 1-year-old bear. I mean, it was just tiny, but come to find out, it was 185 pounds. It just looked really bad. Up there, they eat everybody's bird feeders in the north where everybody camps and their cabins are all over. So somebody shot it multiple times. It had bird shot. Its eyes were blown out. It couldn't see. That's why it was so loud. It was crashing into everything. And it was just a crazy story. But that was my only bear I've shot. And so, yeah. And they're a crazy looking animal when you get that hide off them. They look just like a human. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, so when did you get into hunting? I mean, you've been here in the valley for your whole life. What style of hunting did you get into? When did you get into it? What age? Gosh, the good old days. Now think of it now. You wouldn't even probably leave home without your cell phone or a satellite phone or a spot or anything like that. And here you are and 10, 12 years old, hiking out on your own, 14. Right. It's crazy. So do you remember your first animal you took with a bow? Big game animal? Man, is that cool. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of funny. You were fortunate, I mean, I know you believe this as well. I was fortunate to have a dad that got me in the outdoors. I was same thing, like 4 or 5 years old. As soon as I could walk, I just wanted to be behind him on the trail. And a lot of small game hunting, deer hunting with a gun in Wisconsin is kind of like a holiday. So couldn't wait to do that when you're young. But I mean, for you, you had your dad that got you into hunting, and now look at you turned it into a very successful business and something you're passionate about. That's pretty unique. Yeah, I met Jeff, and then obviously I have a good relationship with Clay. Clay and I, we shared some blood on the mountain, and I told Clay I'm going to get him on the podcast, and he hemmed and hawed, but man, what a unique individual. So it was so funny when I met Clay, and I want to tell the story about how I met you, but let me do that first. So originally, here's the funny part, Greg. So growing up in Wisconsin, I never came to Arizona. We got to come to Colorado once I was out of high school. I'd travel out here over the counter archery elk hunting, and we'd hunt for 7 days and never hear a bugle and think elk hunting sucked, but want to come back the next year. And everybody dreamed of hunting Arizona. I mean, you read the magazines, Eastman's Bow Hunting magazine, all that, and we always came across Greg Krogh. A lot of times it was with Randy Ulmer's giant mule deer. So my brother always used to talk about you. My brother moved to Las Vegas in '96 after he graduated college, lived there, and he always talked about Greg Krogh. If you ever get a hunt in Arizona, we got to hire Greg Krogh. That's what my brother used to say. It's so wild. And then, I don't know, I started making some money when I got a little bit older. I started putting in for points all over every state I could possibly put in for. And one day in 2015, I just found out I'd drawn a New Mexico ibex archery tag, and that was pretty cool. Somebody told me, hey, if you want the most difficult hunt in the lower 48, you got to hunt ibex in New Mexico. And I thought I was some big tough guy, I could handle it. Well, that kicked my butt. But I was in the driveway in Arizona. I remember exactly where I was, and I'm backing out, and I had a phone message from Dave Loescher. Yeah, and he messaged me, and he goes, "Congratulations on your tag." Now, I'd known about my New Mexico ibex tag for like a month, and I'm like, "Thanks. Yeah, that's ibex should be fun." He goes, "No, you drew a Nevada archery elk tag," and I'm like, I looked at my wife. I'm like, "What?" At the same time, I was part of Hunting Fool. I was a member of Hunting Fool, and they called and left me a message. Dave Roscoe left me a message, and the message was, he goes, "JP, I need to talk to you. You just drew arguably one of the greatest tags in the West this year. We need to talk." Well, I called Dave Loescher first because we got a really unique story with how I met Dave Loescher. We're from the exact same hometown, born and raised in the same hometown in Wisconsin. Really, really ironic. But I said to him, I'm like, Dave, what do I do? Like, I didn't even plan this. I drew this with 3 points, like luckiest guy in the world. And he goes, "I don't care what you do." Oh, absolutely. I mean, I got a funny story of how many people hated me because they found out I had it with 3 points. The little locals there when I was leaving town. And Dave Loescher said this. He goes, "Whatever you do, just hire Greg Krogh." And so I put a call into you, and I remember you messaged me back. You're like, "Man, I just don't know if I have any guides open right now." And I'm like, so I called another guy, and I told Dave Loescher, I'm like, "Greg doesn't know if he's got any guides available. He's booked up." And he goes, "Just stay on him. You got to use Greg Krogh." This is what Dave Loescher said. And so you ended up calling me back. You're like, "Hey, I got a guy. Clay Campbell. Him and his brother are killers. Clay will do a great job for you." So I roll into, Pioche, the North. Oh, well, man, was that the Lord's blessing? I roll into the camper to meet him, and it's funny. I didn't know Clay. You know, him and we only talked maybe one time. Never met him, obviously. And I walk into his camper trailer there, and I'm going to pay him the money right away because I'm using it for him. He's going to be the guide and the outfitter. And he looks up, and he's got his eyes messed up. And of course, I don't say nothing. I'm like, whatever. And he keeps looking up, and he goes, "Greg, not tell you I only got one eye." And I'm like, I'm like, so he said it as a joke to kind of break the ice. I'm like, "No, but that's okay, Clay." I'm okay with it. Come to find out, he's pretty darn good with that one eye. He's pretty darn good with that one eye. Yeah, he did. That's scary. Gun blew up on him. Custom built gun, right? Yeah. So we were going to he and I were going to take a picture of me sitting on his lap. I think his left eyes, it was right eyes out, right? Yeah, his right eyes out. So I was going to sit on his right knee, and he was going to be looking at a spotting scope out of his left eye, and I was going to be looking at his right eye. We were going to send you that picture, but we never ended up doing it, and I wish we would have. But that's pretty cool. Yeah. So had heard your name for many, 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 many years, and man, now it's come full circle. And I still never met you in person. Maybe you'll be bear hunting one day. I'll get to meet you for the first time. Yeah. So with your outfitting, obviously you grew up hunting. Your dad got you in the outdoors, all that. Was it just Arizona? Is that all you guided first? Yeah, you're probably so well known in Nevada because I mean, you just every picture's got Nevada giant, Nevada giant, Nevada giant. Do you remember the first time you guided somebody to kill a 200-inch buck? I mean, there's been so many of them now. It's kind of it's just kind of funny. You got to sit back and think like, wow. Oh yeah, yeah. So you bring something up, a good point. And selfishly, I want to know this, Greg. Well, let me ask this first. Do you think watching a guy like that who's got them skills, so like you said, on video safaris, you're seeing them and just got average hunters, maybe just not being able to get to them. Then you get a guy like this who's got some good skill and he's getting in on them. Do you think that that helped you help other people get in on them, watching different things they do? So what are some things that somebody like me could pick up from your knowledge of getting on? Because I've always heard big mule deer are about the hardest animal to kill. Yeah, right. Wow. Yeah, I'm still not doing it. It's kind of one of those things. It's that patience, being, like you said, being willing to walk away. That's that's a gift. As a hunter, you're thinking, I got to take every opportunity because I've been gone long enough now. And time obviously is always, you got the time, that's a benefit. So how many 200-inch deer have you seen killed with your clients? It's a it's a lot. I'd be interested to know that number. So not enough. Do you think hunting has gotten better? Well, I think is exactly what you said. Obviously, guides are way better. I mean, I think it's a complete package of it. Guides are better because you're hunting the same area better, you know, more and more, and you're learning it better and better. You're learning push zones when the animals are pressured. I think the glass is better than it ever has. So your ability to find game farther, sit on the same mountaintop and glass further with the big eyes and the doctors and the coas and all that stuff. You can just, you know, dual spotters. You can pick stuff up 3, 4 miles away now. Technology with bows, you know, probably if you just look at archery alone, talk about when you said, hey, I shot my first one with a recurve, you know, you're probably shooting 30, 40. Man, if you shot a deer at 50 yards with a recurve, that's like launching one way out there. And now, yeah, so yeah, yeah, right. Right, right. Yep. somebody listening to this is like, what? You're averaging 400? You know, they're looking, they never even see 300-inch bull. It's just crazy how good it is. Yeah, yeah, no. Yep, yep. Well, and just think of this. I mean, equipment wise, you got laser rangefinders came in. Now they got angle compensation on them. So that plays a big part. The bows today, there's guys down here. Yeah, if you say this to Midwestern guy, there's guys shooting deer at 100 yards. They're laughing, saying, "What? That's just unethical." Well, that's just how it is. There's guys that are shooting coos deer every single year, 100-inch coos deer every single year, over 100 yards with their bow. So you've expanded that your ability to kill deer, get in that what I would call the kill zone. You know, the kill zone before maybe was 40 or 50 yards with a bow. Now it's 100 to 110 yards. And you know, same with an elk, same with other. And then you look at rifles where maybe before it was 300-400 yards was the kill zone, and now you're able to stay out. And if you try to sneak into that, you might be pushing them, you might be bumping them or something like that. And now you can stay back at that 600-700 yards because the equipment is just so much more dialed in. So the hunter's better, the technology's better, everything about it is better. And, you know, so a lot of states are having to, I've been watching this for 7 years since I've been here in Arizona, and listen to other podcasts and guys that are way more versed at, you know, outdoors and hunting than I am, and just talking about sooner or later things are going to have to change. Well, we saw that this year with the decrease in tags. You know, a lot of tags in some of the good premier units, they've had to decrease tags because some of the older age class animals, elk and deer, and some of these premier units have been killed off over these last years. Well, they're not watching, they're not looking at my Instagram and thinking I'm killing them, because these over the counter spot and stalk deer in Arizona, it's a new skill for me. That's one of the things I've really liked, you know, growing up in Wisconsin. I'm sitting in a tree at 20 yards shooting deer, and you're patterning, you know, feeding areas and stuff. This is just a different ball game, but it's so much fun. And then trying to stalk through the wide open gravel, cactus, and yeah, man, it's such a blast. And so I'm still learning my patience of don't rush in on this deer, don't rush in on this deer, don't rush in. And then I rush in on the deer and blow all of them out of there. And I'm like, if I could have just backed out, he would have got up, I'd have shot him. But so I always tell everybody, I always joke and be like, this is why I have Lena hunt every, you know, the December and the January, because if you find them, you kill them. Like, I'm successful when I have a Lena hunt. It raises my odds. It's a confidence builder, and I use it as a stalking. You know, I've never had to stalk animals, and I want to be able to. I'm in that no man's land right now, Greg. I was talking to my buddy Nick DeBaca. You know Dwayne Adams. Dwayne's son-in-law is Nick DeBaca. He's one of my best friends, and him and I were talking last night. And I'm like, man, I'm in that no man's land. I identify as an archery hunter, but I have no problem picking up a gun. But since I live here in the area of the strip, I'm like, I just want to hold out for a strip tag. Well, I got 10 deer points. Well, it's 16 or 17 to guarantee me a strip tag. I'm like, that's 6-7 more years, and I could draw the early Kaibab rifle. And I go up there with those guys, just kind of helping out once in a while. And I'm like, I see the bucks they killing. And I told Nick last night, I'm like, I might just put in for that early, just to get it. It's kind of like I got this pressure on me of waiting. When am I going to draw this tag? When am I going to draw this tag? Instead of just going and shooting a deer with my gun in the Kaibab, and then it's done. Then I'm not building points for deer anymore, because I can hunt them over the counter, and I'll just get some good draw tags where I can shoot long range with my gun at coos deer. You know, I'm just in a weird space with that. I know. Well, when I first moved here, you had a lot of them, but it was 2 years ago, you've seen a huge decrease in leftover tags. I mean, Nick told me, he goes, everybody's catching on to these leftover tags. And, areas like, podcasts, guys talk about it in the population of podcasts and social media. Nothing wrong with any of it. I enjoy all of it. I'm doing a podcast and I love social media. But people start to catch on to other things. Like in an area where I was hunting, deer hunting over the counter, I hadn't seen anybody there in 3 years. Nobody in the spot. And I can always get on deer, and nothing giant, but 140, 150. If I saw a 170, that's a giant deer. But I mean, I'm still chasing them and trying to hone my skills. And I bumped into 2 different groups of people. And I'm like, where are you guys from? They're like, we're from California, but this is the unit we heard on so-and-so's podcast we should come to. And I'm like, oh, that's good. At least we're getting more people in the outdoors. And I'm like, oh, that's good. More people in the outdoors. I love it. But now you're in my spot. There's that kind of back and forth. So, oh, well. We talk about elk. What about first 400-inch elk? You remember that? No, you're back. You're there. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Well, just where you live, just the blessing of now you're in Nevada, you do, Arizona, and I'm sure you've hunted many segments. You've been to Colorado, you've been out to different places. You've seen some great animals, but there's just nothing like this. I mean, this area, we're in that New Mexico, Utah, Arizona, Nevada, this 4-state area, dry desert, where the bulls can just grow. They don't have to worry about harsh winters. stealing nutrients from their antlers. But, you go into Wyoming, and there's some great areas in Wyoming, great areas in Montana. Obviously, Chuck Adams killed world record, then beat it the next year in Montana. But for the majority of hunters, bow hunters in America that will never experience opportunities like what we live in is pretty phenomenal. Yeah. What's your favorite animal to hunt? Favorite animal to guide too? And you guys still get it done year after year. I was thinking to start my own javelina guiding service because I got those down pat. I'll get some Midwestern guys to come out, and I'll really make it look like I know what I'm doing here. But I won't take them mule deer hunting. I'll just put them on some javelina. No, that's what I love about it. Like I feel like I'm so victorious when I find, like, there they are. Like, great, we're gonna kill them. I mean, it's not very few times once I find a little herd of them that I can't get in on them. They are fun. Well, and from a bow hunting standpoint, everybody should bow hunt them. I mean, talk about going back to some traditional gear. I would do that. That would be something. I've shot a bunch of them already now. I should pick up. I have a longbow my brother has here. He's big into traditional gear. He's a trapper and a traditional guy back in Wisconsin. And I should do that because now I've learned them. Now I know where to find them. I know how to find them, and I know how to get in on them now. So I should do that. It'd be a feat, but just they're fun because I can pop out, no pressure. I don't shoot a javelina. I don't have to clean it. If I do shoot it now, I got to clean it and cook it. Yeah. So what would you say is your, I don't want to say secret to success because I don't want you to give away anything that maybe you want to keep your cards close to your chest with, but what makes you guys so successful? You have a very successful outfitting business. You're always fine, whether it's bear, you're going down and finding them. Is it your glassing technique? Is it just your knowledge of the country, or what is it that makes you successful? Look at that. She's giving that because she wants her phone back. Oh, we'll talk all day. So do you tell me when they're done? Then we'll hang up. That's perfect. That's, I mean, I hear it from everybody. You put more time in, get some more boots on the ground, learn the country, drive the roads, learn the water, learn everything, you know, find all the secrets. And I got to do that same, you know, we got a lot, could have a lot of tags this year. My son's got the cow elk tag, and I really want to be successful. I've been putting in for that for 4 years. I couldn't get him a cow elk tag. Missed it. Yeah, now I finally got one, and we'll have probably 2 days to hunt because he's going to be in football. We'll be able to take off on Friday, hunt Saturday, Sunday. You know, it's squeezed when life really is. You know, hopefully the COVID is done by then. What would you say is one piece of equipment that you will not go in the field without? There you go. So explain those. Explain those. Just Midwest guys are like, what in the world is a doctor for? They still got 8x42s around their neck. That's what they use. Didn't you go to the BTX for a while? Right. Right. That's good. I had two. Yeah. Yeah. I love the 15s. They're one of my favorite things. Yeah, I'm limited. My eyesight is really bad. I'm colorblind, which is, my friend asked me all the time, hey, you want to do some guiding? And I'm like, no, I'd be a terrible guide. They shoot it. I can't find the blood, you know, so I always have to hunt with somebody, or I have to go guided, you know, because I'm very limited. I'm very color deficient. I'm not colorblind, but very deficient. So deer do not stand out to me. We were down turkey hunting, and Nick, my buddy, came down after we killed our turkey, came down to his camp with his boys, and he's like, I really want to check this area out. I know this is going to be good deer hunting. And so we're up. I just have my 10 power, and he has pulled his 15s up. And he's like, there's some coos, there's coos, there's coos. He's finding them. I'm like, no, where are those? Where are they? And until they moved, and there I could see the white patch under their leg, they just don't stand out to me the same color of the background they are. So really, really limited. But I got two more topics I want to ask you about because I'm really interested in this one. Oh, okay. Okay. Yep. Get your fitness on and get running. Well, we'll be right back, everybody. Greg's grabbing a charger. So I'm not going to edit this out. But I do want to thank you for listening to the Fit Archer podcast. I got a couple more questions I'm going to ask Greg because you're going to like these. He mentioned something to me when we were talking the other day when they were bear hunting, and from a long range shooting standpoint, it's going to be I've known about this, but I'm going to ask him about it because I think I want to get his take on it. They do a lot of long range shooting at game. And if you've ever done long range shooting, or if you have not, getting a steady rest aim is one of the most difficult things to do. Anybody ever tell you look like Brett Favre? No, you do. You look like Brett Favre. No one's ever said that? Well, you're talking to a Packer fan. You're in Arizona country. They're not Packer fans down here. He's a big hunter. But my question for you is this. So when we were talking, you were talking about bear hunting, or we were just talking about your rifles and your reloading and shooting and your custom rifles and stuff. And you said sandbags and airbags, that you bring them with you. Did I hear you right when you said that? No, I understand sandbags, like bringing some of those with, but yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but when you said the airbags, so you meant the Phoenix shooting bags. They're just filled, because I was thinking sandbags. I'm like, those are heavy to carry out. Yeah, I follow them on Instagram. And they don't weigh much. Wow. Well, I'm not much of a a shooter, but I'd gotten a custom gun a few years ago because I went down when my buddy Nick was shooting at some coos deer with a custom gun. And I'm like, oh man, this is the kind of gun hunting I could get into. And so there's a real good shooting range here kind of by my house. And so I started shooting, and I realized the benefit when you said to put it behind the butt of the gun. A lot of guys will just, like when you say shooting off a fence post, they just got the fore grip, the forearm grip of the gun resting on something. But that's not where you're the most wobbly. I mean, you can put that there, but you're wobbling so much here by your body. I mean, you can lay down and put that, even if it's just your arm under there and do that, or your fist, it makes all the difference. And the addiction thing, we go out and shoot. And so when you talk about somebody saying, no, that's just not ethical to shoot. My son last year, 2 years ago, whatever it was now, we took him out to the gun range, and with my 28 Nosler on sandbags, squeezing it up so it was perfect rest, 860-yard 10-inch steel, ding, ding, ding. I mean, it's like shooting a 22 at a pop can at 10 yards. When you get the right rest aim, you can dial your turret, like you said, the ballistics of your gun. You can dial it 860. I can put it on 860, and it's something else. It's high technology now. And a perishable skill. I always read in my military magazines, snipers and stuff, that shooting is a perishable skill. And that knowledge of MOAs or mil dots and all that kind of stuff, that's perishable. When I first got one of my scopes, it was, you know, the clicks, the MOAs, and I had the math down for a little bit in my head, and then I was just using iSnipe app on my phone, and I didn't do it for a little while, and I got back up and like, I totally forgot what I learned. Like I just wasn't, you know, I'm not very well versed in it, and it's pretty neat. I mean, to have somebody like you got those guys that did it for a living and traveled and did it, to get that learning curve and shorten that learning curve and then get into it. Oh man, it'd be addicting. An expensive hobby. I don't even know what parallax is. I think I do, but I don't want to say because if I may sound really stupid. Right. I'm going to tell my archery buddies from now on when I throw an arrow, now my parallax is off. I'm really going to mess with it. What's that? That's high technology stuff. My parallax on my bow is off. Well, now I'll be monkeying with that when I go out shooting again. I pulled my 28 Nosler out yesterday, the day before I was weighing it. I was just looking at how much it weighed. So I was looking at other rifles and stuff. And I moved something on my windage. I'm like, was that supposed to be there? And now I'm like, where did I even have it? It was this harebrained move, and we got to shoot it anyway. We'll get out and shoot some rounds through it when my son's getting ready here. But that's good. Well, last topic. When I first asked you to be on the podcast, it was probably a month or 2 months ago, maybe a month ago or something. You're like, well, I'm not into the fitness game, JP. This fit archer. And I thought about this all day. I'm like, you're 8 years older than I am, and I guarantee you I could not keep up with you going up a mountain. I guarantee it. Maybe in a weight room I might be able to beat you, but on a mountain, I guarantee there's no way I could keep up with you because you lived in the mountains for 6 months a year since you've been like 14 years old, and there's no kind of functional fitness that compares to just hiking in a mountain. I mean, I look at some of your guys, like I saw Jeff, and he's tall and lean and kind of skinny. And I guarantee you that guy would demolish me going up a mountain. Yeah. I mean, I've been around guys. I went on a Wyoming hunt. 2014, I drew a high country Wyoming hunt, and I hired an outfitter. And the guide was kind of a chubby guy, like just kind of putsy looking, and he absolutely demolished me. And I trained hard. Like there's no amount of training that equates to, I mean, training helps. There's no question about it. Getting in as good a shape as you can. But the mountain is so unforgiving. The terrain is so unforgiving that there's nothing like throwing a backpack on and just doing it, hiking more and hiking often. So, but I know you're into fitness because you run, you lift, you do a lot. We've been talking a lot about that. You stay in great shape, and ultimately, do you think it? Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. So what is your main way of what do you do typically to stay in shape in the off season? Uh, well, man, I try to stay in good shape, but it's still, still going up. The mountains are just big and tough. I love hiking with a pack. Like now is the time of year I'll start. It'll be hot, but I got a good loop I can do. I can 3.5, 5.5, 6.5 mile loop. And what I do is I get ready for a hunt as I just do progressive overloads, or progressive loading, I guess I would call. So if I know I'm going to Utah in August, I'm just gonna set that date 1 week or maybe a week and a half before that date, and I'm just going to work backwards. I'm gonna back into it as far as if I want to be able to haul with an 80-pound pack. I'm never going to hunt with an 80-pound pack. I'm never even going to backpack in with an 80-pound pack. But I want to be way over what I'm going to be carrying, probably maybe 50 pounds. So I want to get all the way up to at least hike a couple weeks straight with an 80-pound pack. So I may start at 35 and just juice my shoulders and my hips. And usually I'm in good enough shape because I do some CrossFit, so my shoulders and stuff are and hips are usually juiced. I say juiced up, just kind of used to some compression and some dynamic stuff. And then I'll hike on a 1 or 2 days a week in the evening with just the same weight, a low flat hike, just easy. And then one maybe on a Saturday, it'll be a longer one with it. Let's say I'm at 50 pounds. I'll do Monday, 50 pounds, 1 mile, Monday or Wednesday, 50 pounds, 1 mile, Saturday, 50 pounds, 3.5 miles. And then on Monday, it's 55 pounds, Wednesday, 55 pounds, 3.5, 4.5, 5 mile at 55 pounds, then 60 pounds and 70. And so I have just a protocol of how I do it. And then all my workouts in between, but there's nothing like heavy backpacking. I love it. I mean, I'm soaking wet. I feel strong, and it hits all the stability muscles and gets my neck, used to carrying that weight, because there's nothing worse than going into a hunt. You've probably seen clients come in, maybe not in shape, and then you got them for 7 days and you get a little bit of a tweak here and there, and it just limits your hunting. And when you draw tags like the guys that you guide, you're typically drawing really, really premier tags. If I went to Nevada and hunted with Clay and not been in good shape, funny story, I went there 2 days early. And when I met Clay, he goes, let's go out and scout. And so we're sitting on this one knob and we're looking way at the top of this mountain. And I'm still, it's a ginormous mountain. And we seen a really big bull up there. And I said, well, opening day, I can be at the top of that mountain in about an hour. And he just busts out laughing. I mean, it was so arrogant on my part. I'm just thinking I could huff it up there. Well, and he told me, he goes, that's a 6-hour hike. I'm like, there's no way that's a 6-hour hike. And he goes, I know it's a 6-hour hike because last year, my brother, it's when they shot that albino. bull. He goes, he was on top of that mountain like 2-3 days in a row, and it was 6 hours, and he's in good shape. And I remember thinking that when I did finally go to the mountain, and it took me an hour and a half to get from where we were glassing to the base of the mountain, I'm like, that might take me a day to get up there. It was just a giant mountain. Oh, I was I was so fortunate. Yeah, I was so fortunate. The elk that I was hunting that year were on the base to the lower below half. Because I only went up that mountain a couple times. I only had to go up to it, but I remember the first time walking, and I'm walking and I'm walking, and I kept looking at the mountain, going, "It's not getting any closer." And I look at my watch. I'm like, "I'm walking for 45 minutes, and the mountain's not any closer." Walk for another 45 minutes. I'm like, "I'm finally to the base. Now I got to go that distance to get up to where the elk are." I'm like, this is deceiving country, but I think fitness plays such a big role. Of course, I'm passionate about it, so that's why I say that. You know, I grew up working out. Um, we stayed at the campground. Wow. Oh, absolutely. There's no, I'm at 180, 182. I'm 5'8", and that's actually sometimes a little bit heavier than I would want to be when it's putting a pack on and hiking. I won't mind being like 175 and just, but endurance when you're hunting, because you're going, you're not eating as much, you're lowering calories, go, up a hill, gotta shoot. I'd much rather be higher endurance when it comes to getting ready for a hunt. I want to get strong, but I want to train my endurance muscles as well. So like my training will be, it's not going to be like low rep, heavy weight type stuff, trying to bulk up and get, of course I want to get stronger, but I want to get stronger when I'm pushing 15 reps, 20 reps, 25 reps, 30 reps, and really tear the muscle. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. I tell all my weightlifting buddies, I'm like, you're gonna lift and try to get bulky till about 35 years old. You're gonna try to get as big as you can, and then for the rest of your life, you're gonna try to get leaner, as lean as you can. Like I just want to be lean, and lean sometimes even is not a benefit. I'm very lean. I've stayed very lean for a long time, so I freeze early. I get cold really, really easy, but I'd much rather get cold and pack some clothes on and be able to get around the mountain, because it's just makes for so much when you love it. I never want to look at a mountain and be like, I just don't feel like your buddy. I don't want to ever have to get in a car and drive home when I have an opportunity to just be in God's great outdoors and experience all that this has to experience. I want to just be able to go and never have my fitness question, or my mind question question, am I fit enough to go up over that mountain and go after my javelina? Right. Yeah. Yeah, you told me it was a brutal pack out. You said it was one of the worst pack outs you've done. That's what I mean. You said that kid, because you told me, you're like, that was just a terrible pack out. Yeah. Well, man, Greg, it's been a pleasure getting you on here. And Can't wait to meet you in person one day. It's going to be a nice. I've talked to you for years now, since 2015. I've talked to you a couple times each year, and can't wait to get a chance to hunt with you guys again someday when I draw one. Luckily enough to draw a Nevada tag again, but I'm in. Seriously, I'm in. You don't have to say it again. I won't draw a Gould's turkey tag again, so that probably won't happen again for a long time. I'm in. I'll have my rifle ready, and I'm gonna come down to camp with you and just watch what you guys do. Yeah. Well, thanks for your time. I know you're busy, and hopefully now your daughter's got the garage all cleaned up. You can give her a phone back. I'm gonna hang up, and you're gonna sit there and just talk like you're still on for the next hour till they're done. But well, good luck. There you go. There you go. Well, good luck this fall, and we'll talk again before that, I'm sure. And good luck when with the draw. And the Nevada draw just ended or just went in the other day. So good luck picking up a bunch of hunters and having a good fall. And we'll talk soon. I appreciate your time, Greg. All right. Take care, buddy. All right. Bye.